Good afternoon, class. I believe those of us online now, we are in for 425. Okay. If the person that asked about ulcer causing itching of the body, I think those that have ulcer in the class have told us no. No. I've had ulcer too, and there was no itching, but now you can have pain that will radiate to the back. What happened to this one now? This is like I said, PCL 425 research methods. Okay, I'm even just seeing it as elective. And when I was preparing, I was thinking I was coming to 500 level class, because this will help us when we are writing our projects. That's why I put research when you are writing research proposal or thesis writing. So in between, in the notes, I'll say I did this note and sent to you. In the note, you may just be seeing research, you may be seeing proposal. Yes. And of course, if you are doing when you are doing your project, you will even need to write research proposal, especially if you're going to need ethical approval. And then everybody needs ethical approval. Whether you are doing questionnaire or you are doing invasive study or you are doing something like clinical trial, everybody requires ethical approval. And for ethical approval, you write research proposal. And in the research proposal, there is in the research proposal, you have your introduction, the background to the study, statements of the problem or justification, the aims and objectives, significance of the study. You may have research questions and hypotheses, and then you may have what is called operation definition of terms. Maybe there are some terms you're using, you want to define it. Actually, I'm looking at the guideline for postgraduate write-up, but it's not that different from undergraduate write-up as well. In your undergraduate write-up, your chapter 1 will be introduction. Under that introduction, you have background to the study, you have statement of problem or justification, then you have aims and objectives, you have significance of the study, the research questions and hypotheses, and then operational definition of terms. Then chapter 2 will be literature review. Chapter 3 usually methodology or methods. For us in clinical pharmacy, most times we have methodology because we're not doing lab work. But if it's going to involve lab work, you have materials and methods. Then you have chapter 4 results, chapter 5 discussion, chapter 6 usually conclusion, and maybe so I'm trying to remember recommendation. And then of course they're going to have your references and at times, if possible, appendices. But I'm supposed to teach you study objectives and justification. I opened some things here that I will not be able to show. Now, when you are writing, of course, you start with your title or topic of the research you want to do, because when you have your topic or the title of the work you want to do, definitely you do some literature search, because it's from the literature search that will tell you exactly, that will help you to decide, okay, this is what I want to look at. Maybe you have been able to identify a problem, and then you think, okay, I want to address this problem. For instance, I have, like I said, I thought I was coming to 500 levels. I was like, I'll be asking you, what is the topic of your work? Okay, what do you have as your justification? You know, I mentioned something like statement of problem. In some climb, the statement of problem is replaced by justification. So this justification that I'm going to treat is statement of problem in some guidelines. But like I said, the beginning is your title. So when you have your title, then you, at least when you have idea, okay, this is what I think I want to do. You need to go and check the literature to find out what has been done in that line and what you think is missing that you think you can do to add to the body of knowledge or information we have on the particular topic. For instance, I have one of my project students, knowledge and perception of sickle cell among adolescents in private and public secondary school students in Surulere. So based on that study, you need to go into literature. What have they done? What you find in literature may not be the exact topic here, but at least you can come across knowledge and perception of sickle cell maybe among health workers in so place, among university students, among secondary school students in Ghana, in Libya, in wherever. You need all this information to gather this information, so that will now help you to decide on, okay, this is the way I want to go here. Now if you find information outside Nigeria, for instance, you look for similar information in Nigeria you can't get, that may tell you, okay, let me look at it here in Nigeria, this that has been done in Ghana or Liberia or UK or US. And if that is the case, so you now need to tell us, okay, when we now say background to the study, you just give a brief summary of what you have seen in literature related to what you are planning to do, related to your topic. And then you now tell us the problems that you have found in literature and you feel, okay, this is the problem I want to address. I'm trying to look for statement of problem for this sickle cell. Then when you are even stating your problem, you can refer to some references you have seen in literature. For instance, from what I have here as to a statement of a problem, sickle cell anemia is a disease that has a high level. It's not showing on the screen. I'm not. It has a high level of morbidity and mortality for patients that are not controlled properly. It continues to be a global health problem that presents major challenges for healthcare. She's quoting where she got that information from. And then she now went further to talk about a study conducted in Gaziantep, I don't know where that is anyway, where it was determined that 96% of the participants knew nothing about the disease before their children were diagnosed, and 90% were aware the disease was genetically inherited. All the participants were a disease carrier themselves, and 93% of them had no blood tests before marriage. You know, it's telling us something she has seen in literature. Then she will now go ahead to tell us the problem that she thinks she has found and she wants to address. In a study in Unity School, Southeast Nigeria, assessing knowledge of sickle cell, some were found to be with high expected high knowledge scores and the rest and the rest. So it's now saying that a focused educational intervention among this age group is crucial as they embark on making reproductive health decisions. Now, the way I'm looking at this topic, for instance, and the problem, okay, since we're saying that many people don't even know the problem, they don't have enough knowledge, and we believe that if you have enough knowledge, it will help you to make decisions. For instance, knowledge of what can cause sickle cell. For instance, we want to know, okay, does this person know that if AA and SS marry, this is the type of children they will have. If AS and AS marry, this is the type of children they will have. Those are the things we're looking at as knowledge. So if we feel that they don't have that knowledge, then we need to educate them so as to avoid future problems. I think, is it this week? Today is what? Wednesday. Yes. Is it this week or late last week? There was a sickle cell awareness or something where people were talking, they were saying that where they are, if they know that you have sickle cell, even your family member, they don't want you to visit them so that you don't run into crisis while you are with them. Or maybe if you have such a child, most times the man will just abandon the mother and the child. And who knows whether it is even the father that is the cause. So if you're already aware that okay, if so and so marry, they can come up with this type of child, then you avoid it. So from what I have on the board, I was just using that so that you understand what we are talking about. Then when we are ahead, then also when you look at, okay, let's even look at aim and objective. Most times when you are talking of aims and objectives, the aim will sort of catch the topic. Then the objective will be like steps to take to get to the aim of the project or the proposal you're writing. Okay, for instance, this sickle cell thing is talking about to determine the knowledge and perception of sickle cell among adolescents in private and public secondary schools around Surulere. That is general objective for aim. Then the specific objectives: one, to determine the knowledge of students; two, to determine their perception; three, to determine proportion of students who know their genotype. Why do you want to determine the proportion of students that know their genotype? You want to know their level of knowledge, their level of awareness. And then when you have all this, at times you now determine what intervention can I put in place. That is, if after going to the schools and asking questions, addressing this objective, you may go further to say, okay, like if most of them don't know their genotype or they don't even know why they need to know their genotype, for instance, you may need to educate them that you need to know your genotype so that you don't go and marry the wrong person. I know that in some churches, before marriage, they will ask you to go and do your genotype. Then when HIV too came in, they will ask you to go and know your HIV status. Let me see if I can see another. Okay, this is another work is on assessing the, let me just see the title. Assessment and willingness of community pharmacists in management of childhood malnutrition. So this person will have tried to go into literature to know what exactly is childhood malnutrition. What studies have been done on community pharmacists or even healthcare workers as to their knowledge or their knowledge, let's say knowledge of childhood malnutrition or how to treat or manage childhood malnutrition. Has there been any study of community pharmacists in Nigeria or outside Nigeria? You know, it is possible that a study has been done in Nigeria on community pharmacists relating to this topic, but probably in the north. So you may want to repeat it in the south. And probably at the end of the day, you want to compare your result with what they got in the north. Is it similar or not? And if it is similar, you may even find reason why similar. And if it's different, you will find reason why you are getting different results in the south. Okay, for instance, this person is saying that is concerning the statement of the problem, which I have said is like justification. You are justifying why you're doing this test, this study or this research. And of course, if you are justifying, you have to tell us what is known, what is unknown, why you're coming in, the problem you want to address. So childhood malnutrition remains a major preventable cause of mortality and morbidity in children. quoting, giving us the reference. Nearly half of all deaths in under 5 is attributed directly or indirectly to undernutrition. Affected children are at greater risk of death. That is, children with malnutrition are at greater risk of death from infection and let me go further. So this at least it is telling us what is already known. Why the what problem can arise with malnutrition. With the increasing recognition of association between malnutrition and poor health outcomes across disease processes and the rest, the benefit of appropriate nutrition has become paramount for public health intervention to prevent the associated mortality and morbidity linked with child malnutrition. So assessing the willingness or the capacity of community pharmacists means that, okay, you have identified that, okay, this problem exists. And then this community pharmacy, this statement of problem can still be more than this anyway. But the way you're thinking is, okay, the community pharmacies, they are readily available. And some people actually start with them whenever they have any issue, even before going to the health center or hospital. So you want to know, okay, this group of people, what do they understand by the child malnutrition? Are they even trained, or do they have the capacity to manage? So that's what you want to identify in this study, because you know that there's problem of children malnutrition in the country, and we need people to intervene. And we know that not many people will go to the hospital. They will likely end up in a community pharmacy. So if a community pharmacist can help them, why not? So we want to know, okay, well, how willing or what is their capacity? So if after this study you discover that they don't have enough capacity, you may even intervene. You can build them up, build their capacity up so that they can, manage these children with malnutrition. Okay, let me go to the aims and objectives for this particular study. The aim is to evaluate the willingness and capacity of community pharmacists in the management of childhood malnutrition, that which some people will call the general objective. Then the specific objective. We want to identify the current role of community pharmacists in provision of nutrition-based services, evaluate the capacity of community pharmacists in management of child malnutrition, assess the willingness of community pharmacists to tackle child malnutrition, determine if an association exists between the capacity of the community pharmacists and their willingness to tackle child malnutrition. Now, this last one, for instance, this last objective, but if at the end of the researcher now discovers that maybe community pharmacists that lack capacity, they are not willing to tackle this problem, then it means you may need to build their capacity so that they will be willing. But at times they may not have capacity, but they are willing. In the same way, you help to build their capacity. So in from what I have, what I'm sharing now, that when you are writing a research proposal, then also let me add at this point that I was talking of your project and research proposal, and that you may need research proposal to obtain ethical approval. Even if you, for instance, if you've come up with a topic, your sponsor will ask you to go and do literature science and probably write a proposal, which he or she will eventually correct so that it makes sense. So in whatever form, most times for any researcher, that we need to write a proposal. So, and in this process, we may have what is called research justification, which is what you have just mentioned as statement of problem in some cases, and literature review and research design. We are not going to talk much on research design or literature review. We are interested in the research justification. So for somebody trying to write a proposal with these three elements in mind, the person will be thinking of the following question: what problem or issue does the research address? Which is actually the research justification or the statement of the problem. Then how will the research contribute to existing knowledge, which at times is referred to as the significance of the study. Then how will the research achieve its stated objective? You know, I've listed some objectives here. So which will the objective will determine the type of research design we can use. For instance, the two that I've read to you, they are more or less like interview or questionnaire based study. So you now create your questionnaire or interview guide as to questions that will address this objective, so that at the end of the day, by the time you finish your study, you are able to answer or address all the objectives you have listed. So that's why research design will come in based on the objective. And then, like I've mentioned, that when you have introduction, it's under introduction, which is like when you are writing up finally, it is under introduction. That is whether you're writing up your project finally or you're writing proposal, it will be your chapter 1. And if you're writing proposal, your introduction, you should have background to the study, which I said is like a brief summary of what you have found in literature that was making you to be interested in what you are doing, or that is leading you to identify the problem, and then to design your aims and objectives, and eventually the design of the study itself. So in the introduction of research proposal or thesis, that's why I have it there like that. Usually, excuse me, it will have the following: research justification or statement of problem, a summary of key points in the literature review, that is what is known and how the research aims to contribute to what is known. The research aim or objective, summary of the research design, and concise definition of any specialized terms that will be used. That is, you know, the one I said I was reading from PG School talks about operational definition of terms. And okay, I also said that, you know, when you are writing a proposal or your thesis, of course, you start with the topic. It's from the topic. Well, at times you're just reading something and it just cross your mind, let me work in this line. So you start thinking of, okay, this is likely to be the topic. The first time will not be perfect, but you already have idea, okay, this is what I'm trying to look at. So that will tell you area of literature review, what to look for in your literature review. And at times in the process of literature review, your topic becomes more defined. Either it is changed or defined, or some words are removed, some words are added to make sense. So, and then once you have the topic, like I said, it will, because the topic will include subject area, what the research is all about. Like I've given you 2 examples from my students. Then it will help you to determine what is the focus of my research. What do I want to understand? What topics, what activity does it pertain to? And what will I investigate in order to shed light on my focus? That's one on community pharmacy. You may decide to say, okay, just health workers or hospital pharmacy. But most times you may limit yourself to community pharmacy because they are providing primary or public health care. Like I mentioned earlier, that most times they are the first point of call for many people. So you want to know what they know and what you can do so that they can improve their services to the community and continue to lessen the pressure on the hospital. Then you now go to research justification or the problem statement. Now, when you are writing this your problem statement or justification, you want to get in the research proposal, I want to get the audience attention or the reviewer's attention or your supervisor's attention. Like I said, they're looking at it as your project, your final year project. When you are writing proposal, you want to put these things in. And once your supervisor reads it, can understand the flow, and at times it can correct you and bring you, but from experience of your supervisor can, help you to maybe narrow down some things that you're supposed to do. And maybe at that point you have not done exhaustive literature review guide you so that you know what to. So the like I said, the justification or statement of the problem can be one of the first steps of a research proposal. So it involves providing, like I said, maybe the reader or your supervisor critical background or information that introduces the topic area. And it indicates why the research is important. So the research justification should be provided in an accessible and direct manner in the introductory section of the research proposal or in your chapter 1. The number of words required vary depending on the project. So usually when you are talking, like I was reading one statement of problem or something like that, and it has like about 2 or 3 pages, which is wrong. It shouldn't really be more than 1 page, because you're supposed to just address what you have found in literature, the problem, and then that is why you want to do this research. So some questions to help you clarify the research point. Why is this research important? For instance, that community pharmacy, why do you think it's important?
To reduce the problem inside my children, and also to reduce the population of people
and also because we already know that it's a problem here and we need to manage it, and we want to reduce pressure in hospital so that the hospital will be able to face more critical issues. Why is the research important? What real life or everyday problem, issue or question or context does the research relate to? What is the research ultimately trying to achieve? How can I grab the reader's attention or your if you're writing a proposal now, maybe for a grant, how do you grab the grantor's attention or your supervisor's attention? How can I state the problem or context of the research in terms of what most people can relate to? What possible negative repercussion is there of not solving this problem? Then what benefit does the research promise? And when you're writing, like I said, you provide references, you may refer to some work that has been done before. You may refer to maybe a policy or press reports or something, or other reputable information source. They can provide the detailed outline of the context or condition or conundrum or situation. And then writing this research justification is a creative process. It's not, when you as a student, when you write your justification, you take to your supervisor, don't be surprised that your supervisor says, no, this is not the way to write it. This is the way to write it from experience. Writing actually is a creative process that involves practice over time before you can be perfect. So the research justification should lead to the topic of your research and frame your research when you write your thesis or ZGCs or journal article conclusion. And also when you're even writing the conclusion in your work, you always have to refer back to your justification. That is the problem you have identified. You always refer back. The same thing when you're writing your conclusion, you bring in your objective when you're writing your conclusion. So examples are given here that your research may refer to real world problem and it may aim to produce knowledge that will ultimately be used. For instance, that community pharmacy, if you now find out that they don't have enough capacity, You can now suggest that maybe pharmacy schools should include this in their curriculum if it's not there, or is it PCL that is doing MCP? Or the regulatory body can include this in the continuing education. So your knowledge may help in improving policies or regulation, can help to manage risk. That is, at the end of the day, when you have written your justification, at the end of the day, the knowledge you are bringing out from that study, that is, it can help in improve policy, it can help in advancing national or an organizational goals in terms of health. We're talking about child malnutrition, that is health, for instance. And I also mentioned something about probably if you discover that it's not in their curriculum, that's quality education. So it can also help to, the knowledge may help in contributing to economic development, can be in a way of promoting peace and prosperity, promote democracy. Anyway, this is just listing so many things that knowledge. But when it comes to pharmacy, for instance, we know we'll be more towards the health and policy and the regulation. Okay, this yellow one, I just, after I've done the note, I just saw it somewhere. Okay, if you look, sorry, there was something. If you look above, that's important. You see that I put my source. You need to, if you are writing anything, even from literature, you need to put your source so that it doesn't, you are not accused of plagiarism or stealing somebody else's work. Okay, that yellow one, why I put it in yellow is because it's not from that source. I just saw it after. I was still looking out for what do you mean by research justification. So, and I've found this saying that research justification refers to the rationale of the research or the reason why the research is being conducted, including an explanation for the design and methods employed in the research. Though in some cases, you may not put all this in your justification. I mean, you may not put the method or the design, but definitely you want to put the reason why you're doing, or the problem you have identified that you think you want to solve. This literature review is just because, like I listed here, that you, after putting your in an objective, you need to do summary of literature. It's not really part of the topic I'm supposed to take. It's just to help you appreciate what we're saying about justification. You cannot just justify without looking out for information, previous literature. The significance of the research actually is not really part of the topic, but okay, after looking through, why I mentioned this, because it is a bit related to justification and something that you normally put in research proposal. And because I can't find it, I have this the lecture distribution. I can't find it, this significance in the lecture distribution. So that's why I just decided to mention it. But it is likely, have you had a class with Dr. Lubake? No class here, because she's supposed to do clinical research designs and evidence-based clinical decision. Most likely she may mention it too. So I just decided to mention it by the way, in case you don't come across it, because you will need it in your proposal or in your project. And because it is being linked to that research justification we've been talking about. So that's why I just put it there. So talking about significance is that the proposal will be establishing why the research is important, and then they provide new knowledge of in the field. So like the literature review and your research justification may help to establish contribution or significance of the research. So the research aim and objective. I've given you an example from those two studies. That research aim is usually expressed as a concise statement at the close of the literature review. Okay, at times when you are writing up, especially for journals, at the end of your introduction, you can now end up with, okay, this study is aimed at doing so. That is apart from where you have in your thesis 1.3 aims and objectives, where you now tell us aim, you tell us objective. At times when you're even writing the introduction, at the end of it, you now end it with that statement that based on this research aimed at doing so and so. But as in some write-up, it may be referred to as objective. When I told you, some people can call it general objective. Then you now have specific objective. But most times you have aim and objective, where the aim is overall or general objective, and then you now have the specific objective that is, it's like steps that will lead to the aim. So aims and objectives are framed in terms of knowledge production, that you use phrases like, if you remember, to increase understanding, insight, clarity, to evaluate and critique, to test model, to do something. Those are the phrases you use in your objectives. And it's stated that a well-written research aim typically carries within it information about philosophical approach the research will take. That is, when you have aim and objective, it tells you, okay, this is the way I'll go about it, which I said will lead to research design, if you remember. So sentence terms for aims and objectives. The purpose of this research project is to do so and so. Or the purpose of this investigation is to do so, and the aim of this research project is to do so and so. This study is designed to, this study aim to do whatever. So this research design, I don't know yet whether I'm still going to remove it, but I just leave it here for now. That is, when you're doing your research proposal, after aim and objective, after justification, you may want to talk about the design, the research design. But I think, like I said, we have clinical research designs and evidence-based clinical decision by Dr. Lubake. So she may go to town in under this research designs. This was just like introduction to let me know, okay, there's something called research and things that can lead to research design. So that is, the research design explains how the research aims will be achieved. Are you going to go into the field asking questions? Are you going to, for instance, if you're doing bioavailability, you need to recruit volunteers to do your study. So that is, when you're looking at the design, you may have a statement like, the method that will be used will be whether interview, whether survey, video observation, diary recording, depending on what study you're looking at. And then also your design may tell us whether your study will be in phases. For instance, I was talking about intervention that the other time. Now that means the first part that I've just mentioned there is like the first phase. You want to know what is happening. Then after finding out what is happening, you may now want to go into maybe a second phase, that is the intervention. And then you may now, but for your undergraduate, usually you may not go to that level because of time. So most times for undergraduate studies, you end up with just one phase. But if a person starts early and people are cooperating, I mean your respondents are cooperating, you may go as far as intervention and then post-intervention. That will be the third phase. So you have pre-intervention, which will be first phase, intervention, which will be second phase, and post-intervention. So you want to know what is happening before and after your intervention. And then in design, you may mention briefly how the data will be analyzed. Is it just frequency? Are you going to be having the ANOVA? Are you going to be having chi-square? Depending on the data you're looking at. So any question? Sorry, I'm trying to see. Okay, nobody is. I have only 16 people. They were, I think they were like 40 before. I'm now seeing 16. I'm seeing 15, and the lecture has not ended anyway. But since it's elective, who knows whether some people just join to be educated, not really, they're not really involved. And anyway, I can't see any chats. Any question from the two of you in the class? So I will fine tune the notes and drop online. But that means yes. Okay, I'll give you the course outline. Sorry, I'm coming. So the people online, any question or contribution? If not, I think we have come to the end of this class. Thank you for coming.